talk in the background for a minute, but like living in this vegan house,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even joking. We did interviews yesterday and I wrote the questions, but Alex asked me like, what does the vegan squad mean to you? And the vegan squad stopped me from killing myself.
Wow.
I wasn't looking for a direct way out. I wasn't driving with my eyes closed. I was doing drugs and other things, trying to, I think, in a way to like shorten my lifespan so that I don't have to deal with feeling this way any longer. And realizing that I could choose to live with these people
Mm-hmm.
and have this community. It's just such a safe space. So like when I go out into the world, I'm ready for war. Like I'm
Yeah.
ready to be basically attacked for believing that animals shouldn't die. But each night I get to come home and recharge. I'm around my people. That's why we built the community online as
It
well, so
helps a
that
lot.
like
Yeah.
even if you don't have that in person, you can still have it online and know that you're not crazy. It's like you're not crazy for not wanting animals to suffer. And I think like for you, like it's hard to continue speaking when you don't see change or when you don't have other
Yeah.
people that understand. If you're truly alone in this,
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to
thankfully, like
survive.
I've had a lot of support, but it's like it's more so recently. It's like
Yeah.
I think a lot of like early into my veganism, I was living in areas that were just like very rural. People didn't know what it was. There's not options, and it's like it's sometimes it's like easier to just not have the conversation. But it's like after like kind of being called in this way, I feel like it's almost selfish not to speak about suffering. Like I just can't shut up about it. It's like I feel like especially just like with these dogs, it's like it's it's so important like when we see suffering to name it, to call it out. And it's like even if we can't do anything about it, even if we didn't get those dogs out, it's like we're not going to shut up about them. We are going to keep speaking about them. We are going to do, if we never get them out, we're not going to ever stop fighting. And I feel like that about every single person that was there. And it's just like seeing their courage, like it's like the group courage inspired each of us to have our own individual coverage. Like I've seen, or courage. I've seen so many people that are not activists in any way who have spoken about like, or prior to this, like myself, who have spoken about how they feel like this opportunity just came to them and they have this like fire under them to just keep speaking, keep doing these things. And like these beagles, like it is like my central focus at this point. But I also think it's just really important, like how we treat these dogs is really important for our society. How we handle this situation is so important in the way that our society moves forward, because with them being dogs, it's just something that people love dogs. You either have a dog you love, you know someone that loves a dog, you understand, like I feel like that's something that's so core to us in humanity with these companion animals, is like we can understand that. And it's like if we can't even agree that we can't torture them, how do we expect to treat each other well? How do we expect to treat other animals well? So it's like I feel like this right now is just so important for the future of like our humanity and the humanity and the treatment of just animals, like forward, like moving forward. I just feel so compelled to speak on it, and I feel like it's so important. And it's so important because we watched people, like the irony wasn't lost on I think a lot of us, that we watched our friends just be tear gassed over and over and scream and cry and be blinded. And then inside that same facility on the other side of those walls are dogs that are having cherry eye surgery performed, where they're being cut open without anesthesia. And it's like, I don't think that irony was lost on any of us, that they are burning our eyes and we don't care, because we understand that that suffering that we take on that day is never going to be anything compared to those dogs that are in 2x4 cages on wire with their paws just infected and red. And there's evidence of all of this. They've had 311 violations. They've had courts, find them guilty for what they're doing, but they were able to cut a deal and they got out of it. But it's that suffering that went on in there, that doesn't end for them when we go home. Like we were brutalized for 5 hours, but we went home and they stayed there. So it's like, I feel like we all have this feeling of we are not done until they get to go home as well. When they get to go home, it's like that piece of us that we all left behind, like no one wanted to leave. We were just getting tear gas for 5 hours, tear gas, pepper spray, rubber bullets, you know, literally, I mean, knowing that one of our people, because everyone knew at that point that one of our people had had his teeth knocked out and he was unconscious for at least 8 minutes, no one left at that point. I think one of the most powerful things was realizing after how many more buckets of tear gas and rubber bullets and pepper spray they had to bring in, because I think that they thought that we would arrive there and we would get tear gassed and then we would all go home and we would all forget about this and we wouldn't think about these dogs. They were not prepared for the amount of love we had for these dogs. And it's really powerful, that love against the nonviolent, or against the violence of the police. And they didn't understand it and they weren't prepared for it. And I think that's really powerful, and that says a lot, because I think in most cases people would be tear gassed and they would leave. It's a horrible feeling. I mean, myself and my partner, we had chemical burns for like at least 3 to 5 days after. My like skin, if I touched it, it hurt really bad. My lips like almost burnt in the following days after. I mean, and it's all temporary though. That's temporary. That ended. That's over. Those dogs are still in there. They're still suffering. The pain is their reality. Pain, they wake up and they're in these tiny boxes suffering. And it's like, I don't think they were prepared for the amount of love we had in our hearts for these dogs. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't think you should feel sorry for caring about animals that deserve love and kindness. And I don't even know if I'm prepared to be on the receiving end of this interview. But
Sorry.
I just no. Thank you for having empathy. Thank you for having compassion. Thank you for being willing to be brutalized so that someone could hear these dogs.
And that's the thing is, like, I know a lot of the people that were there as well. Like, I didn't personally hear, but a lot of them talked about hearing these dogs in there. And I remember there was a moment when we all went back to the car, and one of my team members, her boyfriend had asked her, like, what are you thinking about? Because we were very silent, all of us, and he had asked her, what are you thinking about? And I remember her saying, the sounds of the dogs. And we were all just silent again for a very, very long time, because it's like, we're not going to forget them. And whether they know it or not, we are fighting for them. They have, you know, so many allies out here working so hard to get them out. And this will be my life's work if it has to be. I really feel passionate about that, and it's we either get them out or I'll die trying at the end. Like I will keep this work for the rest of my life until we get them out, and I feel really passionate about that. And I think there's a lot of people, and I think maybe even most people that were there that day feel the same way about it. And I just hope that the world continues to care, and I hope that we just keep putting the pressure on, because it's unfortunately, like, we're all just people, you know. These aren't celebrities, we're just people that really cared about these dogs and went there to help them. But us being people and how many of us there are and the amount of love in our hearts, I think is really powerful. And I think that it's another force that they're not ready for.
So let's go back to the start.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. Like I think this is important. So what's your name?
Oh, sorry. I was like, we didn't even do all that.
Yeah.
My name is Tiffany. I live just outside of Orlando. Yeah.
How did you get there?
So so do you want me to talk about kind of how I first found out about it? Or
yeah, let's do that. How did you find out about it?
So I actually had found Wayne Shung, who is, he's a founder of the Simple Heart, and kind of in a lot of ways a founder of this movement, although it took on more than him, obviously, going forward. But I had actually first heard of him when I was listening to a podcast. It was not even a vegan podcast. It was just people talking. It was, I don't know if you want me to say the name, but it was called This Is Actually Happening. And it was talking about average people who've had extraordinary experiences. And he was talking about his life and kind of how he became someone that starts going into these slaughterhouses and going into these places of suffering. And I remember that listening to that podcast, I was on my bike, and I can remember the exact moment of like, it actually brought me to tears because I felt like I felt seen for the first time, because I felt like a lot of things he had talked about as far as his connection with the animals, and like how he would go to them in times of like suffering. He would go outside and he would sit with the animals and he would talk to them, and just a lot of the things that he had spoken about his relationship with them touched me very, very deeply. So I had started following him. This was years ago. And when he first started posting about these dogs, I couldn't even believe how much was going on and the level of what was going on. And I remember getting, when they first put out that they were going to be going back, because I was already so excited about the dogs they had saved. When they put out that they were going back, I remember I immediately texted my boyfriend and I said, they're going back. We need to do this. And he called me and he was like, we're doing this. And this is like, it's a dream of mine in a lot of ways, to be able to just help. Like, I just want to help animals. And I felt so unbelievably called to do this. And he's also extremely passionate about animals and animal rescue. And this was just something that really spoke to both of us. And then, I've never left my dogs for more than a night. That was really hard for me. So it was navigating all of the like life things of making sure, thankfully my sister's at home and she's able to take care of them. And I was really lucky to have that support. And, we were eventually assigned to a team. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I was assigned to Ella's team. She is incredible. I remember first finding her page when we were assigned to her team and going, oh my goodness, this woman is leading us. I feel so confident in her, because she's just an incredible human being. And then like we had our first kind of video call with all of our team. And I remember that same feeling that I had listening to Wayne's podcast for the first time, I was feeling, and we were all feeling and echoing to each other, because we all had kind of just gone around and spoken a little bit. And everyone on that team is someone who had agreed to accept a possible felony for rescuing these dogs. We all understood, and Wayne had a nonviolence disclosure agreement, but part of being on the red team was understanding that you could face a felony. Whether that happens or not, it depends on how everything goes, but everyone there was willing to make that sacrifice for these dogs at that point. And we just all kind of went around and talked about how passionate we were about this. And it was just really cool seeing, it's being vegan, or just even being in animal rescue alone can be very isolating, and you can feel like you don't have a lot of support or resources, and you can feel like a lot of people don't care, and that's really, really, really hard. And it was just really cool to have this incredible team. So yeah, and Ella kind of went through kind of what we needed to do as far as getting there and all of that. And, we started booking flights and navigating that portion of that. I don't know how much more you want me to.
No, that's great. I think for people that don't know Ella, she's a hero and inspiration to myself. I think she's been vegan 30 years, like almost as long as I've been alive. I think she went vegan around like 7 or 8 years old, like very young, or vegetarian at 7 or 8. I remember the story about her is like, as soon as she found out about this, she was like locking herself in a cage by the side of the road to get people to wake up and see what we were doing to animals. And I can only imagine how long it's taken her being in that mindset for so long. But I've talked to her, she feels the same as you. This is her calling, this is her mission, this is what she's here for. And I think us finding that gives us a lot of purpose, value, and direction in life. So you and your boyfriend decided to do this, you booked flights.
Yes.
And I want to know how this played out, because I was under the impression it was going to happen on a different day. I think it happened a day early. So tell me like what it was like getting there, and then the organization behind the scenes, and how you guys actually got on the ground.
So when we first arrived, we were on a team. Ella's team was one of the teams that would be going in first. So we kind of had a gathering with those people that would have kind of the higher pressure roles essentially. And then following that, kind of the public would come or not public, but the other teams would come and, continue to move these beagles out. But our goal was to actually get in. So when we arrived there, it was, we kind of arrived to a house of just of mostly vegans, but also just really big animal people who were a lot of them were involved in the previous rescue. Just really cool people, really cool individuals who it was very funny coming into the house because you could feel how much like everyone was very kind to each other, but you could see how focused we were on these dogs. It was very clear that everything else, the socialization aspects, like everyone was wonderful, but it was like we were all there for that purpose, and it was very locked into that purpose. So that first night, we were able to do some like training, more so speaking over like plans and things like that. The day that we went in, Saturday morning, we were told to basically show up at 7, dressed as if we were going in and we were going to do a run through. I do think there's a lot of sense that it was more than likely that we would be going in at that point.
Which would be like 24 hours early from what was
Yes,
announced, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was I think a lot of people had a sleepless night that night, but arriving that morning, and then we get there, and they had let us know that we would in fact be going in about 2 hours. I think we arrived at 7, we'd be going at 9. So we were instructed to go with our drivers, get our our bio suits on for like our safety of the dogs and all of that. And yeah, so that was kind of that step of it, and it was just it was very quiet on the way there, and it was very even quieter on the way back. So it was a lot of very quiet car rides that day. But I think that going in, we felt that we couldn't fail. And I think that the reason for that is that if the police had responded appropriately, if they had used the appropriate force for nonviolent humans, I don't think we would have failed. But unfortunately...
Can you explain?
Oh, yeah.
So like, I'm assuming what you mean by that is there weren't enough police officers where they could like restrain all of you, and just by sheer numbers they wouldn't be able to stop all of you, and that would get the dogs out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
However, they responded with
Violence. Yeah. So when I'll kind of speak on kind of when we first arrived, because again, even though we understood, I mean, we live in 2026, we understand the reality of what police can do, even but I think that knowing that how many people were watching, knowing how many cameras, how much attention this had on it, I don't think anyone was prepared for how it was handled. So when we first arrived, my team was dropped. We immediately start running on. It's very muddy, very like hilly because it had rained the previous night. And I remember right as we got to the trench, which is the first barrier that they had put up for us. So we had a trench full of what I'm now being told is dog feces. That trench was our first obstacle, but right as we started moving through it, and a lot of other people started moving through it, I smelt something. I personally have never smelt tear gas before. I think very few people probably have. And your instinct when you smell something is to kind of like sniff again, because you're like, what is that? And I remember, I think it was my partner that actually said tear gas, and he grabbed me and we started running back from it. And then I remember there was a few people with like megaphones, things like that, and I remember that they were telling us, okay, this way is not going to work, everyone head to the gate, because they had told us, we are going to have to adjust as things go. Basically, we don't know what entrance, we just have to adapt, and we had kind of a lot of different ways of adapting, but also again not counting for them using illegal force, which is really truly what they did. So going up to the gate, we had all started walking forward with our hands up, and there's footage you may or may not have seen. It's a girl that's kind of at the front of us. She actually doesn't have any protection on whatsoever, and she has her hands up, and they start pepper spraying her. And at that moment that they started pepper spraying her, we were kind of just right behind her, my partner and I, and he actually grabbed my like biosuit and turned me in a way that the tear gas only got on my back, thankfully, but I would have also been tear gassed in that moment as well. So I was very, very grateful for that. We, at that point, I think we still didn't understand that the level of what we were about to face. And they had grabbed a bunch of different people. I saw them rip this kid's clothes off. It was very, very violent. Like the way they grabbed onto him, and he, like, as he was running away, they kept grabbing, and it was like they undressed this poor kid. And I remember seeing that behind me. At the same time as I'm seeing that behind me, there was so much going on at one time. There was another, an older lady that, or she's a grandmother that was arrested, and they had their knee in her back. And I ended up seeing in a video later, they actually kicked her as well. And as they were grabbing all these people, I remember somebody saying, you know, go, 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 because they had a lot of people taken at that point. So a few of us ran past that first police line, and we got to the second line, and there were just not enough people behind us, and they were grabbing people. I honestly am extremely lucky that I did not get grabbed at that moment, because we were right at the front, and it just so happened that people around me were grabbed instead, which was horrible to see. And then from that moment, we had to kind of step back a little bit, because we were not going to be able to get in that way. There was a line of cops after that point, and we just didn't have enough of us that made it through the first line. And I think just as this action went on, we started to see how violent this was, the amount of people that got tear gas, the amount of people that got pepper sprayed. A lot of it gets very, very blurry, because I remember after that point, like we had to walk this woman away because she couldn't see. She's like, I just need to find my daughter, but she could not see anything. And she was tear gas or pepper sprayed, and then she turned and she had this huge gash on her face. And I went, instinctually, oh my God, your face. She ended up, her eye, you may have seen her later on, her eye is all swollen, and she doesn't know who I mean, she was completely blind for that whole experience. And thankfully we got her into the hands of somebody who was able to care for her. And then we started going around the back of the building, and it's like every entrance we were at, they were just coming at us repeatedly with the bullets, or the rubber bullets and the tear gas and the pepper spray. And it was a lot of this whole 5 hours, it doesn't feel like 5 hours, but a lot of that whole 5 hours was just us even trying to get close to the gate or talk to people. I mean, I watched, older women walk up to the fence and try to have a conversation with these police respectfully, hands up, nothing on them, nothing violent. You almost never see that, I mean, there's a lot of, it would be very easy to be angry at the police, and to, it would be very easy to want to curse at them and want to yell at them. But I think that we all understood that it was really important for us to be nonviolent, because the more nonviolent that we were, the better chance of us getting these dogs, because any one of us being violent will reflect on the whole group. And that was something that was really communicated to us, that we all had a responsibility to check in with each other and make sure that we were all behaving appropriately in a way that would reflect best on these dogs. And we didn't even have to. Like, everyone already immediately they were able to just respond with kindness. And yeah, sorry, I don't know if you want me to pause or where you want me to go from there, but I can just kind of, there's a lot of different stuff I could talk about depending on, yeah.
So what was the deciding point in time that you guys decided to leave?
So the only reason we had left is they were starting to talk about a mass arrest, and we felt that that would not further our point anymore at that point, because we had already had some people be arrested. We wanted to stay out of jail to work on getting those people out of jail and work on working on these dogs, because it after the, honestly, after about 4 to 5 hours, it was just clear that no progress was going to be made, and more importantly, people were just going to continue to be hurt, and so many people had already been hurt. I mean, there are so many injuries that have come from this incident, and everywhere from minor, chemical burns like myself and my partner had, to, you know, people having teeth knocked out, people, almost being suffocated in tear gas. It's the wounds from rubber bullets. I was told that some of the police that had used the rubber bullets had used them almost right up against the activist's skin, and those things are huge. They are painful. They leave dents. They leave welts. They're non-lethal, but if it's only they can hurt
I
you a
think the
lot.
correct term is actually less than lethal.
Or less than lethal, yeah.
But used the wrong way, they can 100% be lethal.
And that's what we were also told as well, that, if somebody takes one of these to the head, or, they can break a rib. I personally watched, there was an older man standing on the hay bales at one point. He was not yelling, he was not doing anything, he was just standing on these hay bales. And I watched them rubber bullet him. I think they hit him with 5 or 6, and it really looked like he was being shot. They hit him, and then he actually collapsed off of that hay bale. And it's like these aren't people that were even actively trying to even get in. It was like sometimes there were just activists standing in one spot and they would just tear gas. Like, they were relentless. So it just kind of came to the point where somebody is going to, or people are going to continue to get hurt. And there were multiple points where myself and my partner were extremely concerned about, is someone going to die? It just didn't seem like they had any limit to what they were doing. And I think that's where we were struggling a lot of, like, at the end of the day, we have animals to get home to, but I don't know, everyone was so brave and we all stayed. But after that 4 or 5 hour mark, when they started talking about the mass arrest, we were told to kind of blend into the public or the green team, so that we wouldn't be arrested and we could continue to do this work for these dogs, because it was just clear that there was nothing good that was going to come at that point. And we really had stayed for as long as we could, just, with people getting absolutely brutalized. So yeah, we ended up, we were instructed to go to the jailhouse, and we went to the jailhouse where we had that was, a protest essentially. We were all on the sidewalk, we had our signs, we chanted, just try to get attention on these dogs. And it was really incredible. These people had been outside for, 5 hours getting tear gassed, and it makes your throat very, very raw. Myself personally, I experienced the tear gas, to different levels. I would say about 15 times at least. They use so much more than that, but that was just my own personal experience. And we all went to this protest, and we were chanting, and just, I remember thinking, we're all gonna lose our voices, because our voices are so, our throats were so much in pain from that tear gas, and we're just screaming, chanting for these dogs, to save the dogs. And then we went from the jailhouse to the courthouse, and we had a little press conference there. And then from there, we had another one where we marched to the Capitol building. So all these people that went to all of this, I mean, we were activists for 12 plus hours that day. We woke up, we went in there, and then we just kept trying to get attention on it. And it was hard. It was hard leaving. No one wanted to leave. And I think that every single person there feels like, even though there was nothing more to do, I think there's a guilt of feeling like we wish we did more, but doing more would have just been more hurt for all of us. And as bad as it was, the amount of attention the amount of violence, it put attention on these dogs. And I think everyone was willing for that to happen, to get this attention on these dogs.
I watched it live. It was live streamed with drones. Okay. So it looked like a battlefield. It looked like a castle, like siege. And knowing, I didn't even know you at the time, but knowing that Jess and Ella were there, people that are on my team, people that I love and care about, were literally being attacked. It was a next level feeling for me. And I think that if I could share my own personal views, like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you did your job.
I appreciate that.
You could not have done anything else. I mean, you guys could have brought guns, but that wouldn't have brought the right message. You could have stayed there and got arrested. That wouldn't have helped the dogs. In some ways, the cops could have just gone home and you could have rescued the dogs, but what about all the other dogs around the world that need someone to speak for them?
Yeah.
So, in a way, this is how I rationalize it. This is how I get up and perform my best each day. You guys did the job that you needed to do because you spoke for all the dogs in the world that need this and all the animals, like you said at the beginning. And that's where your life's work is, if you want it to be.
Appreciate that.
And I can't thank you enough. You've empowered me, you, Jess, Ella. I want to be on Team Yellow. I can't get arrested and run this team, but I can be there and film. I can
Yeah.
promote. This is why I'm using my account for this. And so I want to ask you, what can I or what can the people watching this do right now to support you in this mission? How can they help?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things you can do is go to the savethedogs.io. There's a petition there. There's all the evidence there. There's resources there explaining what went on with that evidence behind it. It's a really important tool to have when also speaking to others about it, so we know that we can speak knowledgeably about what has happened and why it's wrong and why we have a legal basis to rescue these animals. So just go to savethedogs.io, and if you have any type of platform, please use it. This is such an important issue. This is so important for humanity and the treatment of humanity and the treatment of all animals, for us to get these dogs out and really just do everything we can. So if you have any type of platform, any type of influence, please use it to help these dogs. They are in there right now. They are suffering, and we just, as people who have a voice, you know, many of them have their vocal cords cut. They perform 30 to 40 surgeries each month. We have a voice. We can speak for them. We can get this message out. So please, whatever influence you have, even if you have 10 people that follow you, share, show what happened, show what's going on, so that the world cannot look away from this.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Sorry. Thank you.
You don't need to apologize for
I know,
having a big
I know.
heart. I wish more people were like this. Vulnerability is a strength, and you putting this out there allows someone to watch this and connect with you and want to help share this message.
I appreciate it.
If someone, news or otherwise, wants to reach out to you, is there a way that people can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to contact me is going to be my Instagram. It is t.and.thepack. I'm sure you can link it as well. But
It'll be down below with savethedogs.io.
Perfect. But yeah, I'm happy to speak on my experience. I just have so much to say for these creatures, and I would like to say it and just use my voice for them as much as possible. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Thank you.